This chapter just set the bar very high for this arc. I am incredibly interested now, because it's not just the fact of what this new character, this son of Destro, did, which I will get into, but it's also something that the community pointed out that kind of blew my mind. And I take no credit for it, but I wanted to show you guys this reference that Horikoshi made to the Joker. As you can see from the whole scene with Destro's son, he is just talking and all that in a very frantic manner. And then, if you look at Joker's scene from his comic, you see how he talks in a very similar way. Look at his way he positions himself, the way he moves his hands around. It's very similar to Joker and in this chapter of, you know, My Hero Academia, the CEO. I'm pretty impressed by that reference. That really kind of implies that this character might be in some ways related to the Joker, like his personality might be based off of him, who really knows. But for Horikoshi to go that far, it proves a lot about the character, because Joker, he is a very big character. In the media world, as a villain, the Joker is probably one of the most iconic characters. Regardless if you care about Batman, Marvel, DC, whatever, or any type of comics, you have all probably heard the name Joker. Everybody probably has heard that, because Joker's that iconic. And I've talked about it a few times in the past of how much I love the Joker. I may not read the comics and know every single little detail about the Joker, but I love the Joker. He's a really good villain. Interesting mindset the way he is. And I especially love Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight. But seeing how we had a Joker reference, that made me very excited. So that right there won me over when I found that out. But that wasn't the main thing. What really set the bar for this chapter, and why I think this arc is going to be very good, is because of the mentality of this character, this CEO, and what he did to his helper, his assistant. So, for this chapter, unless you're spoiled or something, reading it, you wouldn't think that the CEO was necessarily an evil dude. When you look at his intentions and what he was doing at the beginning of the chapter for the first half, he was basically doing a commercial saying that he wants to help out Hero Society, he wants to help out individuals, and I'll get into the details of that in a second, but he was just wanting to help out society. And he seemed like a, straight up good guy. But at the same time, as we all know very well in real life, looks can be deceiving. Media or advertisements can be deceiving and lead you into a false sense of security, and that's kind of what Horikoshi was doing. Once again, he was using an application of how real-life media is, leading you into a trap and not realizing what is really going on here, and that's kind of what happened. The dude's intentions obviously are pure. He actually does truly believe in what he's doing. That is definitely clear, but that is the scary part about his character, because of how much he believes in his cause, how much he believes in this commercial to what he wants to do for, Hero Society, for individuals, makes him terrifying for what he will do to achieve these goals, which is what we saw firsthand in this chapter, because the character that was the assistant that died within this chapter was honestly a decent dude. And I read both translations. I read the Viz Media translation and, the MS translation. And after reading both, MS's translation is just straight garbo. And I'm not just saying that because I'm looking at the official translation. I'm saying that because when you read both, there's completely two different examples of how you can get the wrong interpretation of certain characters. For instance, the panda guy, the guy that died, in the MS translation, MS makes it look like he's a jerk. He's a jerk that really isn't redeemable, and that it's not really that bad that he died. That's kind of how that entire part in MS's translation looks like. But then when you read Viz Media's translation, the dude's actually got a nice guy. Like, he's a nice guy. He does have some humor, and he pokes at the boss, but overall, he isn't vicious like he was in the MS translation. He was actually trying to cheer up the presence, like, hey, don't worry about your forehead, it's a redeeming quality or whatever. So the dude was a good and honest guy. He cared about his boss. So that was two very distinct differences. But also, at the end of MS's translation, when we found out about Destro's son and how he had a child, in the MS translation, it implies that all the people sitting at the table was Destro's children. But in the Viz Media, you find out it's only the CEO that is Destro's child. So, very distinct. Two distinct differences between the translations. I was like, whoa, okay, I'm glad I read Viz Media to get the full understanding of what this chapter is about. But getting back into the CEO, as an individual, what he did to the man, the assistant, was brutal. And it says a lot about his character. Because like I said, he put on this air that he seemed like a decent guy, and he does believe in his cause. And as soon as he found out that the assistant did not believe in the same ideology that he believed in, he ended his life. That's scary. Because when we look at their interaction, it's very clear that they're close. They're friends. They were definitely friends. It's definitely from their reaction or interaction with each other. They probably went out to eat a lot. They probably had company meals, whatever. They chatted about, random things all the time. It's very clear that those two individuals were close. He may not have known everything about the CEO, but at the very least, they were close individuals. And I think the CEO could call the man his friend. That's very obvious from their interaction, at least at the beginning of the chapter. And when he turns around, he's scratching his head and all that, and he's like, and then he gets up to the man, he hugs him, and he starts asking questions. He's like, hey, do you have a girlfriend, a wife? And he's like, no, I don't. Do you have family? And now my family's dead. And basically, what he was doing there, the CEO, he was confirming if the guy was alone, if he had no connections to the outside world. That's a very scary thing, because he was basically seeing if he was to kill the man right then and there, would it be messy? Would anyone really wonder where he went if he just suddenly, poof, disappeared? And so that is why he asked those questions. So when he put the man down, it wasn't because he was out of concern, wondering if the man was A-okay, if he's lonely or whatever. He was just wanting to know if it was going to cause a big problem when he put the man down. And when he finally did kill the dude, he basically stated that, it needed to be done. You needed to be killed. That's all I could do. That was the only option left. And he was basically saying, we would have allowed you to live, or he said he would have allowed him to live if he didn't want to join their group. Like, he was saying in the middle of the Viz Media translation, like, he was going to offer him very soon to join his associates, which would be a part of the Meta Liberation Army. He was basically going to offer that. He's like, hey, you can join us. And if the dude turned it down, he wasn't going to downright kill the man. And that's kind of what he said. He's like, we weren't going to instantly kill him, even if he knew it wouldn't have probably ended out the same way. Like, ended up the same way as it did right here. And so, that right there proved a lot. The man didn't really want to kill the guy. But at the same time, he killed the man because as soon as he disagreed with his ideology, it's over. He's written off. He's done. That's the scary part about this, is that the man was able to kill someone very close to him that's technically like a friend to him, or maybe even a best friend, like nothing. That speaks a lot. Very scary character. Very, very menacing character to do that. And how quick it was, too, it's savage. And also, the way he didn't really necessarily kill him with nothing but just like a stranglehold, that's also scary. And he snapped the man's neck, which, whoa. Okay, brutal way to start an arc. So anyways, let's get right into the little details of this character. So, besides his personality and what he did to the dude, I want to talk about the, darkness on his eyes, around his eyes, that you see at the end of the chapter. It's very distinct. It's very much like Destro's design. If you look at Destro's picture, you see the distinct, black outline around his eyes and all that, and the son of him has the exact same thing. So, it's implied that the son has the same exact quirk, because we do know that quirks can be passed down technically and be the exact same, but maybe a little bit different. We don't really know how much this quirk varies from maybe Destro's, because we don't really know much about Destro, but we know at the very least their quirk is probably very same, and it has something to do with the eyes. And judging by Destro, it seemed like his quirk was always activated when we look at his face, and how it was always on. But when we look at the CEO, it seems like he's able to deactivate and activate it at any time, at any point. And maybe the reason why he does this is because he doesn't want people to know that he's actually Destro's son, because barely anyone knew about this. That's what it was stated at the end of the chapter, is that, Destro himself had no idea he really had a son. So, yeah. And also, Destro's dead, too. Oh, crap. So, we're introduced to this new company that has a lot of ties into real society. For instance, the public world, and they've garnered a lot of attention. For instance, they make products for individuals. They don't just mass-produce products out of nowhere. They make products to order. Like, when it's ordered, they make the product for the person that ordered it. That's what was proven in this chapter. In the entire dialogue speech that was reminiscent of the Joker, he's basically saying, at one point in time, like our society, we live on a society that has an industrial era. We mass produce a lot of, projects or, products. We mass produce it and get it out because it can fit pretty much everyone's needs. Not too many people are really that different. It's like, you know, small size, medium size, large size, extra large size. That's pretty much the standards when it comes to clothing. And that's kind of what can be applied here, is that in, you know, normal era, before quirks, everybody had a certain thing where you can mass produce products, and companies were like this. But thanks to quirks coming around and changing everybody's biology and how they looked very different, it made it to where a new era opened up, and the industrial era mass producing things would not work. I never really thought about that. That actually makes a lot of sense, because with their body structures changing, you gotta imagine being able to find the right clothing and right products, beauty products, whatever, to make yourself look better is definitely going to be very important and probably very hard to find, especially in the early era when stuff like this started to pop up. Like, when you think about when quirks started to come around, people started having, like, different type of bodies, it probably was hard to find just clothing to fit into. Imagine someone like, Tokoyami, or, you know, seeing someone like, just any of our weird characters. Like, any character that has distinct, like, weird bodies, they probably wouldn't have been able to have clothes in the past, or things that really fit them, or products, because of just how different their body really is. So, that's kind of what the company was saying, is that they changed. They got a leg up, and they were willing to make products to order for certain individuals. And after a long history of doing this, building up their reputation, they finally have stepped into the hero world. And the dude seems to be able to take a lot of criticism. As a boss, you can see that. He's like, as much as bad reaction as we expected. Basically, you expected there to be a bad reaction to them walking into Hero Society, because when you think about what they've been doing, they've just been a business about making beauty products and clothing and stuff for just regular people, civilians. But now them stepping into a realm of, like, heroes, it's kind of like saying you're turning a corporation into a military corporation. That's kind of what it looks like, and it's completely different. It's radically different from what they've been doing, and it's to an extreme. Now, do I think that this company has the possibility of helping out heroes and making products to order? Yes, I do. Because for them to be able to make products to order for certain regular civilians, then they probably can do it for heroes. They can definitely do that for heroes, because they need equipment that fits their body for what they fight with. So, I think they can actually do it. And because of their history, it does make sense why he would say that. However, I do think what he said at the end of how there's people in here that want change, want to be liberated, it makes you wonder, when he said that at the end of the chapter, was he saying that towards the heroes, or was he saying that towards the villains? And that's the big question mark you have after this chapter, and who is he really gearing these products for? Because he does say that people want liberation, and when we think about what the Meta Liberation Army is about, it's basically about wanting to be with freedom, having freedom with your quirk, not being suppressed. And when you think about how the world is right now in My Hero Academia, you have it to where nobody really can use their quirk freely. You have to have a hero license to be able to use your quirk. And when he said that there's certain individuals that want to be liberated, I'm assuming he was implying it to the heroes, because technically for them to strive to be heroes, there's some individuals that want to just be heroes and good people. But we do know many heroes have their own motives, and a lot of heroes want their license for they can use their quirks. That's like the basic thing, for they can use their quirks with a license and not really have to go to jail or whatever. So the man saying certain people want to be liberated does apply a lot to heroes, but it also could be applied to villains as well, because they rise up and use their quirks and not really worrying about the law. So it can be applied to both sides, and I feel like that's what makes this organization very gray, because it's not helping just one side, it's benefiting both sides, which I think is rather crazy to think about, and I am interested in this art with the direction, especially after that. But okay, also, Bakugo and Todoroki, they got their license finally. They managed to get their hero license, which I'm proud of them. I mean, it was to be expected that they were going to be able to pass unless some other, twist happened, but seeing them get their license, it really doesn't come as a surprise. They finally got it, and for the entire event with Destro's son to be talking like he did, I feel like Bakugo and Todoroki are probably going to be very vital in this upcoming arc. They're probably going to be, frontline and center for this arc just because of how they were shown at the end of this chapter. But we'll see where it goes. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you got this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.